This is the area that we were showing you, Ranch View near Princeton. This is where we had that kind of couplet roll through. I'm going to hand things over to Jim Williams.
No, I was just going to summarize what Stephen told us.
Okay, yeah, go
12
ahead, Jim,
homes.
I might have missed some of that.
No, 12 homes heavily damaged, according to the fire chief in Naperville. 6 hurt, 4 taken to the hospital. And here's what is also important there, aside from the homes that have been damaged and the people who have been hurt and the people who have to go to the hospital. People listened. You know, and they listened to what you've been saying and other broadcasters have been saying about the danger. They listened to the radio. They no doubt got lots of information on social media, and the fire chief said it could have been a whole lot worse if people had not paid attention to those warnings.
What I was concerned about earlier, Jim, and even for our staff here, you know, we were talking about 2 rounds of weather that were coming through. The first round kind of jumped over us and caused all of the storm reports into parts of Michigan. We really weren't sure how much of the energy was left over for the second round. Now look at all the local storm reports. And more of these are going to filter in overnight. I suspect we're probably going to double this as you check in tomorrow morning with Laura, who's going to be here kind of wrapping up, summarizing what's happened. Because, by the way, all of this should be out of here, although we may still have some lingering flood concerns. Still have the last tornado warning that is in place for the very southeastern or eastern part of LaPorte County. The good news is once that system exits, the rest of this should remain fairly tame. It's still very heavy rain. It's still going to produce some gusty winds. Severe thunderstorm warnings are still in place. But it is not the damaging concern that we've seen in places where we saw our Stephen Graves. Again, the strong winds still rolling on by. And again, because we do still have that tornado warning, I wanted to make sure you were updated on that. Going to stay with this just a little bit longer. If we have any new video that comes in or any new reports, please let me know. If you want me to go to somewhere else, Rebecca, who's our producer, just kind of guide me where you want me to go. We still have, and I'm getting more and more concerned about the flooding threat that's happening in northwest Indiana. Also, a lot of lightning. Mary Kay has something, so let me go ahead and hand things over to Mary Kay with some new information. Go ahead.
Well, luckily we don't have any new warnings, but I did want to update you as you're mentioning the flooding and all the ponding on the area roadways. We can go through some of the rainfall estimated precipitation that we've picked up. You know, we were talking about that large area of rain between Gary and Valparaiso. That was 2.5 inches estimated by our radar. And when we widen out the picture and kind of take a look at all of the different totals out there, you know, northern DeKalb County, that's a spot, 2.7 inches. Then closer to O'Hare, 2 inches there. So 2-inch totals North Shore near Evanston, 1.9. Some very impressive rain totals there. And then as you get south of Aurora there, 2.5 inches. And then down into Joliet. So it's just giving you an idea of how much rain has been falling throughout the Chicago area. And all of these areas in yellow, that's been a healthy 1 inch. And that's a lot of it, you know, our viewing area that picked up an inch, but the oranges and the reds, that's where you start to get in the 2+ areas as far as rainfall goes. But just to recap what's still going on, the green area around the heart of the city and the western suburbs, that's actually flooding that, you know, we've been following as well. So it's aerial flood advisory. But then in northwest Indiana, we still have the severe thunderstorm warnings for all the counties in orange. And then in LaPorte, that little edge left of that tornado warning there as that storm moves to the east. Still a lot of lightning out there, though. It's really starting to focus on Kankakee County and into northwest Indiana as this whole line rolls to the east. And this is part of a cold front that's going to be coming through and really changing our weather and giving us below average temperatures coming up this week. But we still are dealing with heavy rain. So those totals I showed you in northwest Indiana, you're going to be adding to that. Same is true south of I-80 on the Illinois side as well, because we have heavy rain in Kankakee, too. Even down into Watseka, we have some heavy rain, but it's into Gary, Valparaiso. All of that is moving eastward with that line. And again, those are severe thunderstorm warnings in northwest Indiana that we've been looking at. So that's really the focus now of the heaviest rain. So some of the towns there still dealing with that: Crown Point, Lowell, Lake Village, Valparaiso, and Wheatfield, and Keener. So the brighter reds and almost purple colors, that's indicating where we have intense rainfall that's falling. And then add to that all of the lightning. So it just is a dangerous night to be out and about driving, because you just don't know. When you see water over the roadways, you have no idea idea if that's just minor ponding or if, you know, something huge is there or the power lines are down. Who knows? We had that report in Portage that 1,600 people are without power there with poles down throughout the town of Portage in northwest Indiana, and that would make sense from that severe storm that rolled through. But right now, you know, we still have the severe thunderstorm warning for parts of all of our northwest Indiana counties as that last line of rain moves through that area. So we still are dealing with some very heavy rain in northwest Indiana. And then they're starting to peel off on the severe thunderstorm watch on the Illinois side, and that's good news.
I want to show you a couple of things, and I'm not going to be in front of the radar because I really need to be at the radar to drive this. So if they want to swap over to my radar source that I've been using on the air, and it's going to be a little faded out, and I've done that on purpose. But I've also been getting some new reports from the storms earlier in the evening, things like trees down. Darien, we've now got a report of tornado damage to a residence in Darien. Estimated by radar from the probable time here sometime after 11:16. But let me show you what happened over the last few hours. As the rain came in, we started to see the severe thunderstorm warnings begin to move in. The first one came out into DeKalb County, and then we started to see Kane County go under the severe thunderstorm warnings. Then they started to form a line, but the line started to get a little kinked, and as it did so, that's when we started to see the tornado warnings pop off. The one near Aurora that you see there on the map is the one that had the confirmed tornado that we know has caused a lot of damage, Naperville over to Woodridge. And then the additional tornado warning that was over O'Hare, the rotation was over O'Hare, and that traveled east, eventually turning into a gusty wind event. Then we had severe thunderstorm warnings essentially sweep across the entire area, and several more tornado warnings. So almost everyone at least had a severe thunderstorm warning at some point tonight, and many of you ended up under tornado warnings as the entire line swept along. We are now wrapping this up, and we still have one tornado warning, I believe, that is in place at this hour for the southeastern corner of LaPorte County, and also some severe thunderstorms that are still in place. We are now in the assessing the damage and recovery mode of this, making sure that emergency responders can see what has happened, get this rain and lightning out of here, because that is still going to cause problems for emergency responders. It's still dangerous for them to be out there from all of that very heavy rain.
The Weather Service said they just canceled the severe thunderstorm warning now for Lake and Porter and Newton and Jasper counties, so that's good news.
Yeah, so you're really starting to see this wrap up.
Okay, so they're starting to formulate plans for damage survey teams, so they're putting that together because all of us in the media want to know what areas they're going to assess and walk through, and that takes time, you know, because they have to have a trained crew at each location. And after a night like tonight, Rob, I think you're going to have numerous spots that they want to go check out in depth and really look it over.
All of those tornado warnings that I walked you through as the whole line moved across, they're going to evaluate where they think they have damage, where they've had reports of damage, or maybe where they saw rotation on the radar that they think was damage, but maybe don't have a report yet. In some areas where it's perhaps not as populated, sometimes they actually have to go out to forested areas and see if there's a line of tornado damage. They do that to make sure that the warning was a good warning and that they had the storm report so that they can do a little bit of verification. Aerial flood advisory still in place for most of the city here because we have a lot of runoff from a lot of the rain. That's going to be in place for a while. Starting to see this watch, the pink colors, that's the severe thunderstorm watch. All that's going to be exiting. Mary Kay just mentioned that we are watching the severe thunderstorm warnings be dropped as things improve. Still have the tornado warning, although that is starting to exit, and all of this will now move out of here. Once it does so, while there still will be some leftover rain and some lightning, especially into parts of northwest Indiana, I think we will be done with the severe weather, at least the tornado threat for sure, and some gusty winds may still be possible as we roll now very close to the 1 o'clock hour. Let me show you what we're still looking at and maybe reset things to let you know what has happened. I know you've probably been tuned into us most of the overnight, but want to kind of let you know what we've seen. Still a line of storms that are rolling through. We have seen a very large, strong line that really moved across almost everyone, and there have been storm reports that are continuing to trickle in. It's still dark outside, some folks may not see the damage until tomorrow. It's why the Weather Service isn't going to be out until tomorrow, until they have the daylight. It appears that the strongest of the damage was right along this line. The one that rolled through Naperville potentially is a tornado. I don't necessarily want to say it's tornado damage because the National Weather Service is really going to confirm that. It's also what rolled through Woodridge. We've shown you some of that video from it, and I'm sure we'll be showing that to you in the next few minutes. If they have it, they're welcome to move that up. It is compelling video. We want to let you know what's happened from all of these storm reports. Now that same cell is exiting LaPorte County. It moved all the way across really the entire viewing area right through the south side of Chicago. Not necessarily a tornado, but the cell that produced that tornado held together the entire time with the rotation and is now exiting the viewing area. So what happens now? Things improve. The conditions are going to improve. We are going to watch for any potential flash flooding from some of the heavy rain that is not moving as quickly as I would like to see it into northwest Indiana. You notice the northern part of this line is moving at a good clip, but a lot of this rain is not moving very quickly, and it's hitting, as Mary Kay said, training over the same area. Think of like train cars, one after another, hits the same location, and that's why you get some of the pretty impressive totals. I know Mary Kay has been showing you some of the rainfall totals that have been showing up in the radar. I don't think I have my radar in the play mode, so I'll just kind of walk you through what I have. I wanted to mention where we're seeing the most damage and where likely the National Weather Service is going to be going to tomorrow. For sure, one of the locations that we are going to get a better view of when the sun comes up, but also where the National Weather Service is probably going to spend a good bit of their time are right into these areas. Woodridge, near Woodridge Road. We've also been talking about John Quill and Crabtree Park, where we have some damage video that we have been seeing. Our mobile weather lab was out in this area not too long after we mentioned that circulation went right through there. We did have a very intense circulation show up on radar. This was probably the most intense cell that we saw tonight. We heard the fire chief say that this area is kind of the epicenter here over to, say, where Princeton Lane was, where we also had that same couplet roll through just a couple of minutes earlier. This was just after 11 o'clock. I've stopped the radar here at 11:12. To the west we go, where the couplet was just a couple of minutes earlier. The rotation, when I say couplet, I mean the rotation, potentially where the tornado was. Ranch View Drive, just to the south of 75th Street. This is right off of Princeton Lane, where we know that there have been some injuries. We have some evacuations from folks that maybe can't go back into their homes because they may be damaged, and we know we do have some structural damage. Mary Kay, what do you have?
Good news, all severe weather warnings now are over for our immediate viewing area. The tornado warnings have ended in northwest Indiana. Severe thunderstorm warnings have ended in northwest Indiana, so the cleanup begins. We still do have the flood advisory, though, for Cook County, DuPage County, Northern Will. Obviously, so much rain fell, but the good news is we do not have any severe warnings, tornadoes or severe thunderstorm warnings right now, but we have a lot of rain. Radar estimates anywhere between 1 to 2.5 inches, almost 3 inches of rain scattered throughout the Chicago area. Those red returns and orange returns, those indicate where we do have the heaviest rainfall. But the good news is the severe weather is on the way out as this whole front pulls through, and it's really going to be changing our temperatures here over the next few days, with highs only in the 70s for a few days, believe it or not. But we still have thunder and lightning there in northwest Indiana, but at least the warnings, Rob, have ended.
Yeah, so here's what we're going to do at this point. I'm going to give a moment to let my producer let me know what we're going to do. I know we have some compelling video, so if we want to kind of put a bow on it with what we have with some of that video, because we want to give you an idea of what's happened across Chicagoland today, and then we'll toss it over to Jim Williams as things have been kind of wrapping up this evening. It's going to be a long night for some of the emergency managers, Jim. I think we're going to see more images come out as the light comes up and we have a better idea of what has happened.
Now, obviously, most of the attention is going to be focused on the tornadoes and the tornadoes that have touched down, but as you and Mary Kay have said all evening, there's been a lot of rain too, and yeah, we've had some flooding, and I understand we have some video of flooding on I-55, both directions near Kedzie. Is that right? Do we have that video?
Maybe some of the same video that I believe we saw a little bit earlier as well.
There you go. You can see how deep that water is there and how people have to drive very carefully. And, you know, folks, automotive folks and emergency responders warn us all the time not to drive through floods, but in this case, people are moving slowly. This is on the Stevenson Expressway near Kedzie. We also want to tell you that there have been reports of heavy damage in Woodridge, the Princeton Circle area there. Princeton Circle, 12 homes heavily damaged, 6 people hurt, 4 people taken to the hospital.